Bleh. Hey everyone, shut the up, Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for our monthly album review in summation segment, the Why You Know Review, where I go over a series of records that I did not get the chance to formally review in their own single review this past month, but I want to touch down on them quickly in this gauntlet video. Let's go! Indie folk. Nap time. Do you wanna nap to some indie folk? Da da da. They try so hard to new wave on this album, and they come up so short, which is weird because they're just such a legendary alternative dance band. You'd think that just making some synth pop would just be a hop, skip, and a jump away. It'd just be like a little sidestep and it would be good. But again, it just comes up so short. Maybe also because a lot of those classic new wave sounds haven't really aged that well into the modern era. So I guess the difficulty here of making a new wave record is kind of twofold. I could not get through a single song on this record without cringing at least just one lyric. When is OVO going to sign a reputable R&B or alternative R&B artist that has a distinct and an interesting sound? I'm going to give this new Violent Soho record a shout out. It's cool to see Side One Dummy, the people over at Side One Dummy, giving a nod to the Australian rock scene right now. However, I could not get into this album. It's just so painfully 90s. I can't really see it as anything more than just 90s revivalism. It's just like a splash of alternative rock with a little bit of post-hardcore at the foundation of the songs, and there's nothing really too distinct about it, in my opinion. If you're going to bring some 90s revivalism, I think a lot of these sounds, they should really come back with a vengeance. Your record should be a reminder of why the 90s were so great, not why they got boring after a while. Not too much to say about this, but I do want to shout this record out, the new qualichris album over here. It is an instrumental album, and qualichris, if you didn't already know, he is a very eccentric Detroit rapper and producer, and if you've heard his rap songs before, you know they run pretty odd. So having an instrumental album from him has the potential to be even weirder, and he definitely does deliver on the odd side of things. So if you're looking for some alternative instrumental hip-hop, just some alternative instrumental beats, then give this thing a listen. This thing is a Japanese synth punk record that just totally fried my brain. The mixes are so dense, they're so compressed, and the band is always changing the groove, the tempo, the instrumental flavor of the song. This was harder to digest than a Melt Banana record. It was so disorienting. And 19 tracks on this thing. I do like Polysics, tons of respect for them. They're one of the longest running bands out of Japan right now. And definitely one of the more distinct groups too. Very original sound. But again, I found this very hard to sit through. After a while, I just felt like it had overloaded my brain. So I guess if you're looking for a very punky rock record out of Japan that is going to overwhelm you, just really remind you what that word means, overwhelm, then give this thing a listen. I do consider myself a big fan of the movie Akira, so I did want to look into this remix album of, I guess, not only the dialogue from the movie, but the legendary film's soundtrack, and I can't really say I found it that inspiring or intriguing. I mean, for sure, it is miles ahead of what Rick Rubin and a league of other producers were trying to do on that Star Wars Headspace compilation. Way more tasteful than that, but I didn't find the incorporation of the dialogue in the film all that interesting, and I didn't find the songs and the production itself on here to be all that inventive or adventurous either. It just felt like some very nondescript electronic music much of the time, and the only thing really kind of separating this from any league of other very low-key kind of IDM-influenced albums is that there are vocal samples from the Akira movie in the songs. This album over here is about three things. It's about bars, it's about bars, and it's about bars, fam. It's about bars. This is a very wordy, very fast flows, very aggressive hip-hop record from the UK. Usually I'm not into hip-hop that is this verbose, this technical, and this is not an exception to that rule, unfortunately. However, I did want to give this record a nod because I do think this guy is one of the more talented MCs that I've heard coming out of the UK in a while. So if you want to hear something gritty, if you want to hear something wordy, coming from the UK hip-hop scene, a lot of technical prowess on this project, then give this a listen. The new Merzbow and Boris collaboration over here, Gensho, or Phenomenon. This is a really odd record. Now first, to start off, this is not the first time these two have collaborated, and collaborated in the same sense that this album is a collaboration, with Boris essentially adding noise, adding sounds to previously written and recorded Boris tracks. So that happens here once again. But with this kind of double album over here, you have to play the Boris side and the Merzbow side at the same time. How you go about doing that with two different turntables, or you sort of open up two different audio player programs, or maybe you kind of mix the Boris side and the Merzbow side yourself in like Audacity or some kind of audio editing program. That's really up to you. So as the listener, you are, I guess, in full and total control of whose side you want to listen to, if you just want to listen to Merzbow or you want to listen to Boris, or what volume one side is playing at any given time, which I guess is part of the concept of this, because you are kind of creating your own phenomenon, your own Gensho here each time you listen to it. And I don't know, I think listening to this project, at least when I was listening through to it, I didn't feel that I needed to keep it at the same volume the whole time. Sometimes I turned Merzbow's additions to this project up, sometimes I turn them down, sometimes on some tracks I like them really loud, other times I think they sound better soft. And even though some of the Boris tracks on this thing I am familiar with, I think Merzbow's additions to this thing really transforms these songs. Some of them are really frightening and ear-piercing and strange, and add to the already shoegazy vibe of some of these tracks. Now, some of his contributions I think go over better than others. There are more ballad-like songs on the Boris side of this project that Merzbow just kind of seems to be wailing over, that really don't add too much to the songs. Those are the moments where I feel like I turn Merzbow's additions to this thing down the most. But for the heavier, dronier, shoegazy moments, I don't think his contributions could have been any more perfect. Again, it's an interesting concept. There are certainly highlights here. I don't like all of it, for sure. All I really do know is that it's something that I feel like I would have rather experienced live. But still, if you're looking for a strange, noisy, one-off, experimental, high-concept collaboration album, then this is your thing. Give it a shot. Giving a shout-out to the new SAMIYAM record over here. There are definitely some highlights on this record. I think I liked it a little bit more than his last, and some of the features definitely made the track listing a little more exciting, but this didn't read to me as anything more than just kind of another Brain Feeder beat tape. But if you are a big Brain Feeder fan, you like those kind of wonky, off-kilter, strange hip-hop beats, then check this thing out. And we are going to end things off with the new Guerilla Toss record, Eraser Stargazer, a noise rock record, a post-punk record that I was really looking forward to, but I guess I found it a little too sharp for me to want to stick through the whole thing. The instrumentation itself sounds like it was recorded in a metal room, like the guitars, the drums, everything is just kind of violently bouncing and clashing off of one another in a really unpleasant way, a way that even shied me away from the record, which is sort of odd, I know, but it sounds like something that would actually make me like it. But still, it was not sort of gelling for me, I guess. But if you're looking for a very shouty, a very amped, a very hyper noise rock record with a lot of energy and a lot of hell to raise, give this thing a shot. And we are going to end it there. That is the Why You Know review for this month. Thank you for watching. Tran,